Brandon Sanderson's Hero of Ages. This is 752 pages long with 83 chapters. Super short chapters. Enjoyed it. This is the conclusion of the Mistborn Trilogy. Let's see here. This really, all we are is dust in the wind. That is an accurate description here. Apocalypse scenario, the world is ending, and of course, there's rebellions everywhere. So, previously, the group of main characters formed a rebellion to overthrow the final empire in the first book. The second book, they built up a government, and then this is kind of what happens when everything falls apart. There is mists that come at night and now even into the day that are preventing sunlight from reaching the crops, so the crops are dying. There is ash falls during the day, so just falling ash that blocks out the sun also hurts the crops, but like leaves a layer of ash, and so it's difficult to move around, to do anything. And there's earthquakes. So between all the natural disasters in the world ending, the main characters are still trying to get everyone together and survive. All this overshadowed by the Church of the Survivor that sprung up based on the original one of the original main characters and the competing forces of ruin and preservation. So the previous book was The Well of Ascension, which is part of preservation's power. Preservation had imprisoned ruin to keep things from accelerating, but ruin was able to kind of manipulate things even though it didn't have its full power. So the Hero of Ages in the prophecies is to take the power of the Well of Ascension and fix everything, save everybody. So that is the prophecy, and we get to see how it plays out here. So, great book. I liked it almost as much as the first book, but not quite. If I had to rank them, it would be 1, 3, and then book 2, Well of Ascension. This was a lot of fun. The pages just kept turning. I couldn't put it down. It was excellent book. Again, this is metallurgic powers. So you have allomancers who burn metals, so they ingest the metal powder and then are able to burn it. So there's different types with different abilities. Tin provides better sight and different senses. There's Jedi powers like emotions, force push and force pull. So yeah, lots of good things. But the second book really focused on the Terracemen's magic system, which is involving metal mines. They were able to store knowledge, strength, weight, speed, all of those in rings or bracers that they wore on their arms, that kind of thing. So this one here, there's a giant metal spike, and that is the third system of magic. Hematology? I don't know. That's as close as I can get. So either way, you drive a spike, and the type of spike is the type of power, right? So we talked about tin being one, copper being another, copper being the ability to help find other elementers. So I think they call them seekers. Anyways, you drive the spike through the person who has the ability, and then that ability gets transferred onto the spike, and then that spike, whoever it lands on, they're the ones who inherit a piece of that power. It is ruin. It's a ruin ability, so it's not quite full strength, right? The spike, when it goes through, you don't gain all the powers, you gain a limited amount of the original power. So that is the backdrop of this whole book, and everything's going on all at once. So you got Vin and Elend. They are trying to gather the empire, coalesce everybody, and get them all to the central point, the capital city, so that they can grow crops and survive with what little sunlight is available. So then you got Sazed and Spook. Sazed's still my favorite character, but he and Spook go up into the northern area to help. There is a rebellion there against their own rebellion, and it's there are crops up there, but also there's these storage caverns. So the opening of this, the main characters are looking at the different, I think there's 6 of them, storage caverns that the Lord Ruler from the first book created in response to knowing that the world was going to end. He created these thinking that people would hide in there to survive the earthquakes, but also there was lots of food, water, and supplies in there. So, knowing the disaster was coming, he prepared. Even though he was a brutal, oppressive ruler, he planned ahead. So Spook and Sazed are going to the Northern Dominants to secure the storage cavern and hopefully quell the rebellion, or at least do as much as they can before the world ends. And then this was really my favorite section here with Tensoon. He is a Kandra. So I couldn't stop reading. Like, I would get to a Kandra section and then I'd be like, oh man, that was so good, we need more. And then like, okay, now I gotta wait like another 5 chapters. But anyways, so Kandra were Mistborn who then got spikes and became sentient. So kind of like a amorphous blob that goes around and starts eating on anything it can find to grow random shapes. But once it gets the spike, then it can form bodies and imitate both animals and humans. So yeah, they had their own council, their own rule of law, and it was just a really cool, really fun setting, and I really enjoyed those parts. So yeah, I can't stress it enough. It was just really cool. So we talked about the third magic system being hematology, and that's not only for the humans and for the Kandra, it also applies to Inquisitors, right? They've got the metal spikes through their eyes, so it kind of makes sense all along. It was the idea was there. It just wasn't like not discovered. It wasn't explained to the reader, so it was always there. Yeah, and really, we talked about the Inquisitors and the Kandra, but you also learn how Koloss are made, and that was super cool. That was a good scene, really interesting. I didn't like how it happened, but I did enjoy the scene. It was a fun one. So, short chapters were excellent. We find out the true meaning of behind Mistborn, why they're called Mistborn, what the origin story is. That's a big deal. Let's see. I really liked the way the main characters they did it out of themselves. Sazed kind of lost his faith. Let's see, a number of them lost hope. Why are we continuing to fight each other in the midst of a world-ending apocalypse event, right? Like at one point, Ellen's waist deep in ash. Why would I continue to fight? I can barely move. So yes, I really liked the doubt that the main characters had. It made them feel more relatable, right? They're not this unstoppable force. They are people, and I did like that. So upon showing up in the Western Dominance, Ellen and Vin find out that the Obligator King is throwing balls still, trying to keep life as normal as possible as to what it was before this revolution. And I really liked that they were like, what the heck, let's go to the ball, let's crash the ball, let's do it. And I really liked that the first ball was a lot of fun to see. That scene was just a whole enjoyable scenario. And the Obligator King, like, he still believed in the Lord Ruler. That to me was a really good part of the story and a good plot point added to it, I think. And I think this part is one of the key parts of the whole thing is, they have super magic powers with metal and abilities and all that stuff. But there was a point when Spook uses the opposite of his abilities, right? He's flaring tin all the time, so his senses are super heightened. And when he no longer does it, when he removes the burning, his senses are dulled. And to me, that was huge, right? You're using the opposite of your superpower to then help people. So Brandon Sanderson is an excellent writer, has lots of really cool twists and turns, and the plot points are a lot of fun. So some quick things that I didn't like. I think it was almost, maybe it was just me, but maybe it was implied that Marsha was gonna be the hero of ages, right? He's this Inquisitor who kind of does his own thing, has his own will. So it's like, oh man, maybe he's gonna sneak in at the last second and save the day. So I wasn't really sure. I didn't really like that. I mean, Marsh was kind of the tying character for a few bits, but his part just seems strange to me, so no problem. Trapping Vin seemed unnecessary. Maybe Ruin wanted to isolate her. Going to the second ball, it was obviously a trap. Like, obviously they went to it. They knew going in. I don't know, that whole situation. If Ruin could appear anytime, like, why did he need to isolate her? So I wasn't sure about that whole situation. But overall, book was excellent. Lots of great scenes, lots of fun battles, and learning about the Cadre was just beyond awesome. So, yes, this is Vin. One of the quotes I liked. This is her talking. After a year of marriage, it had taught her that there are some things one simply had to ignore. She could love Ellen for his desire to do the right thing, including when she thought he'd done the opposite. So yeah, they've been married for a year, and she just is like, I have to accept him and ignore some of the things he does. Otherwise, pick your battles, essentially. So that was kind of a fun quote there. Um, uh, all right, this is Sazed and Spook talking. Faith, Spook said, means that it doesn't matter what happens. You can trust that somebody is watching. Trust that somebody will make it all right. Sazed struggles with his faith, and Spook really provides a spark and hopefully carries on to the end there that helps. And I really liked the way that just that whole situation, Spook and Sazed make a good team. So this last one is the life of a person. This is Vin talking. The life of the person is more than the chaos of its passing. I can't tell you what that's about because it's at the very end, but really, that to me was Vin learning, how to trust others, how to become, grow, live, all that stuff. She had so many issues trusting others. And so to say, like, hey, a life is more than the chaos, it was just so cool. And really like this book, loved the trilogy. Give it a look. It is absolutely worth your time. If you like science fiction, if you like Brandon Sanderson, this is the series for you. So remember to buy your books used.